Welcome. Okay. Welcome to our City Council tonight. If I can have your attention, please. Thank you for your attention. I'd like to welcome all of you to our City Council tonight, June 11th, 2024, Harrisville City. Thank you for attending. We appreciate all of you here. Our opening Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Councilmember Christensen.
You all please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this day that we can meet here together as City Council and the public. We're grateful for all the citizens in Harrisville. We're grateful for them coming out tonight and be able to voice and be able to go over the things on the agenda. We're grateful for the freedoms we have and grateful that we can enjoy them. We say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Moving on to item number 3, which is our consent items. Item 8 is approval of meeting minutes for May 14, 2024, City Council meeting and work session as presented. Council, have you had a chance to look at those? Any modifications or changes? No, may I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for May 14, 2024, the council meeting and work session as is.
I second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 4 is employee recognition. Item 8, we had Bill Smith. I'm not sure if most of you know him. He lives on West Harrisville Road. He has recently resigned from the Planning Commission. We wanted to recognize him tonight. He's not able to attend, but just give him your thanks if you can. Item B, Jason Keller. Do you want to come up here, Jason?
Come on.
I'm going to turn the time over to Chief Wilson.
All right, so Detective Keller has 2 awards tonight. The first one is for his work on our Shop at the Hero program. He's had 2 successful years at organizing that event, which first year went really well. The second year doubled in size. We were able to help twice as many kids as the year previous. So not only did Keller put that together, but a lot of the citizens and businesses around Harrisville also donated to that so we can make this possible, as well as Walmart makes a big donation. So that's going to be a yearly event for us now. He's doing the Shop with the Hero for kids before Christmas. But Detective Keller does an awesome job of putting that together. It starts at the cabin early in the morning. They get all the food donated for breakfast, and then it goes down to Walmart. They get a shop and get pictures taken and stuff. So it's a really cool event. You guys can all watch the website when it's coming up next. But it's been a good thing for us. So we'll present Detective Keller with that for an event specialist and his pin to wear on his uniform. His second award is he's done the class to be a drone pilot. So I don't know how many people know the city does have a drone. For instance, lost people. I mean, there's tons of uses. So I think we have 4 pilots now here. So congratulations on that.
You better smile, Jack.
I need to smile.
Thank you. Congratulations, Detective.
I'm just going to stay here.
Just stay right there. We have a new officer.
Landon.
Yeah.
So Landon Silverwood is our brand new officer. Landon came from Weber County. He was working in the jail for 2 years, putting himself through the LEO portion to be an officer. He started with us June 28th, or no, May 28th. May 28th. This is Landon's first week on FTO. We're excited to have him. We'll swear him in now and then have his wife come up and pin his badge on.
Why don't you come up and then face the audience, please?
You raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Landon Silverwood,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office with fidelity.
of my office with fidelity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can just stab it in there.
Looks like the other picture.
I'm a little better in height on this one.
Fun fact about Landon too, I found out the other day talking to him. He was on the youth city council for West Haven, was a youth city council mayor in West Haven. Well, pretty cool.
Thank you. We appreciate you working here. Item number 6 are business items. Item A is a public hearing. This is to hear public comment for and or against Harrisville Resolution 24-09, which is amending the fiscal year 2024 budget. Jessica Hardy.
Thank you, Council. For the memo, twice a year, municipalities are allowed to reopen the budget. Staff is requesting that we amend the budget for some non-departmental expenditures such as auditing and accounting services. As you remember, we went out for RFP and redid our audit this year. Increase for building inspections for mostly for plan checks and the professional planner, and then an increase for the cabin city building cleaning. So do you have any questions on the reopened budget at this time?
Are we just shifting line items, or are we at?
Yes, we're just reallocating funds.
So we're not increasing?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. All right. With that, I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. This is an opportunity for those in the audience to come to the podium, introduce yourself, and you have 3 minutes to express your concerns about this item, which is the amending the fiscal year 2024 budget. So you're able to come to the podium right now for the next few minutes. And seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
I'll move we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jessica. Item B, discussion possible action to adopt Harrisville Resolution 24-09, which is a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 budget. Jessica, do you have any more to add to that?
I'm sorry, which one?
The same.
Oh, no.
Okay. So we're just adopting that resolution now that we just heard about.
I'll make a motion to adopt Harrisville Resolution 2409, resolution amending the 2024 fiscal year budget.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This is a roll call vote. Councilmember Fawcett.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Williamson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item C on the agenda. This is a public hearing to hear public comment for and or against the executive officer's compensation increase. Jenny, I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. There was new legislation passed this year in Senate Bill 91, which requires an independent standalone public hearing for executive officers of the city to receive any type of compensation increase at all. The action item is tied to the budget, the 2025 final budget that will be adopted at a later date. Included in the budget is a 3% COLA increase and a 2% merit based on performance evaluations included in that final budget for the 2025 budget year. This is to take comment on that.
All right. Any questions for Jennie before I open the public?
So it's 3% COLA and 2%
Up to 2% merit based on performance evaluations.
All right. Thank you, Jennie. I'd like to have a motion to open the comments. Or public hearing, sorry.
I'll make the motion that we open the public hearing. I'm on the right one. Hear comments for and against the executive officer's compensation increase.
Second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. This is the chance for anyone in the audience to come forward. You have the same rules apply. Come forward. 3 minutes to state your opinion on this item only.
Larry Lilly. I moved here to Harrisville 4 years ago, and I'm kind of getting a mixed signal from the city in regards to, I don't have any problem with merit increase or wage increases for employees of the city, but I kind of feel like the city is against us as citizens. And why I say that is, you know, you have this, in this letter here, I'm getting mixed messages. You tell us, you know, I'm going to quote, although the city has tried our best to keep the garbage fees low, the operating costs along with a discounted second can rate is not sustainable. After carefully reviewing the expenditures of providing these services, Harrisville City Council has decided to increase the second can rate to match the first can rate. So you're telling me that you don't have money, even after 163% tax increase, you don't have money for a second can discount, yet in the same breath, oh, come to this public meeting. We have lots of money to increase city executive salaries. So who are you for? Are you for employees or are you for the citizens, the ones who elect you? I mean, it seems to me like you're against us, you're pitting against us. And I have comments concerning this bond. I mean, I'll speak to that in a moment, but there's nothing wrong with employee increases, but when you can't even discount a second garbage can for the citizens, that seems a little ridiculous to me. And that's kind of a message I'm getting, that you don't care about the citizens, you only care about employees. I mean, seriously, can't even discount a second garbage can.
Seeing no one else, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item D is a public hearing to hear public comment for and or against the issuance of lease revenue bonds. Jennie again.
Thank you, Mayor. So this public hearing is related to the resolution that was adopted at the May City Council meeting for the issuance of up to $10 million in lease revenue bonds. As the City Council is already aware, but as a little background for the public, the city purchased the 750 West property in approximately 2004. Since then, there have been a number of discussions relating to when the city should or would plan to build new municipal offices or other needed things on that site. Even at the time 20 years ago, there was a projected city hall complex estimated at approximately $3 million back then under other mayors' tenure. And most recently, as far as staff recommendations, and when Public Works Director Gene Bingham retired in 2016, he heavily suggested to the City Council at that time that they consider beginning progress over there to improve or put in storm drain infrastructure using impact fees and other revenue sources that the city had. Historically, there have not typically been a strategic plan put in place for the future growth of the city facilities. And what we find ourselves in now is the current facility is at its maximum capacity, and there are some but limited new growth opportunities for expansion. Some of those we have looked into, limited because we had moved in the direction under the council's advisement approximately 2 years ago of what the cost would be to build a new city hall and police department. Some of the issues the city deals with the limited expansion opportunities are whether the foundation of this building could support another level. We cannot grow to the northwest or south on our current site. Eastern growth in this location would eliminate our parking lot and potentially cause issues there. We currently have security issues with a combined City Hall Police Department in our current facility because of the BCI standards. All employees of Harrisville City must meet the BCI requirements for employment, including our office cleaning services, because we don't have a secured door that separates our police department from all other city employees. There are concerns about future issues with updated state mandates and requirements that we could keep ourselves in compliance with. All offices are at the full capacity in the current building. The police department also occupies 2 offices on the city hall upper floor because they have no more office space downstairs. Unfortunately, this building doesn't have a flex space where cubicles could be rearranged for temporary office space. We don't have that opportunity here in the current building. And all indications from our financial advisors, which Marcus and Trevor are both here from Cruz and Associates, and along with the architect have indicated that it's unlikely that we would ever outpace interest rates and increased construction costs if we do hold off, but this will increase the cost of building the facility in the future. And we even had a lengthy discussion with our architect at the beginning of our public works facility. In the housing crash of 2008, the construction costs stabilized, but they never decreased. And then once the market got healthy again, they started their normal paced incline. So the map is pulled up here for your benefit and also the public's. The gray portion here on the map is the current public works facility that is under construction that you can see when you drive down 750 West. The second phase of the public works building is listed here. The police department and city hall is combined here in the blue, and the Northview Fire Station potential lot that the city's in process of subdividing our property there for Northview Fire to purchase a lot to build a substation and their future strategic plan that they just recently adopted. Do you have any questions for me before we open the public hearing?
ADA.
This building is not ADA compliant for the police department on bottom level. We have not looked into too terribly far the cost of putting an elevator in, but that would be one of our options to make ourselves compliant here.
So Justin spoke to this last meeting, but maybe you could refresh our memories. How much would it cost to expand the building so that it would be roomy enough and become ADA, BCI, and administrative office of the courts.
We don't have accurate numbers on that. We haven't gone down the road for staff to feel comfortable to talk to those numbers. We know it would be in the millions of dollars, but we don't have an accurate number that staff would be comfortable sharing. We haven't gone that direction. Under the council's direction, we were looking into building the new building.
Do you feel that would be throwing good money after bad if we did that?
We did stop investing money in this building after we received that direction a couple of years ago. We didn't necessarily do improvements that weren't necessary for the operations of the city. For example, we've updated computer equipment or the sound system in the council room and things like that, but we haven't made any structural changes or even gotten estimates on that yet for this building.
Per the last meeting, did we look into what we could get with the funds that we currently have bonded for, as far as the building that we could build on that other?
So we will go into a lot more detail on your discussion item later. If you'd like me to go into some of that detail now, I'm happy to, but there is a lot of information reserved for the discussion item later in the meeting. It's up to your direction. You tell me how much detail you want to go into. I can give you an update or we can hold up.
We could just do, kind of an abbreviated just
version.
Okay.
So after that last discussion, staff understood that reduction of the cost of the new building was paramount, and we've had 2 very lengthy conversations with the architect since that meeting. We have pulled and identified, I have a visual, I don't have the amount, but this spreadsheet was identified by our architect, and we have numerically identified what opportunities would be the least impact for future growth on the city to try and pull the budget back. Estimations from our most recent meeting put us now at approximately $14.6 million for the combined city hall and police department, which is down from the original 18 million that we were at. And so we're still in that programming phase. We haven't moved forward with any formal design work yet. We're still identifying other opportunities for savings based on council's input on the programming items that we have identified that we would seek your input on, but we have already implemented those cost savings. We've also ordered appraisals on the current building and other city-owned properties that would be for sale to go towards this project.
Thank you. Any more questions right now? All right, thank you, Jenny. I would like a motion to open the public hearing, please.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So you kind of know the routine by now. You approach the podium, state your name, you have 3 minutes to talk about this item. We will be taking notes on the questions that you have. We will not respond tonight. That information will be either on the website or at a meeting in July. We will make sure we research and answer all your questions tonight. So with that, I will.
The people online, are they going to be able to type in?
No.
Or ask? We're
told the last training that people on Zoom are not, what's the word? they're not eligible, or I don't know if that's even the word, but we're not required to have them.
Okay, I just wanted a clarification.
Yes,
so
thank you.
Somebody's going to come up and say, well, how come I couldn't get in?
Yes, we have a physical location to have those things, so that's where they need to be if they want to comment.
Okay.
Thanks for that clarification. All right. The time is yours.
My name is Melanie Wheaton, and first of all, I want to say thank you for your service. We know you do stuff that we don't want to do. But we feel like once again that we're not being heard. We see the need for improvements to this building. We see that our new building. We see the need for improvements to the police station, the public works facility. We already, however, indicated that we can't approve of issuing a bond without knowing exactly what it is that you're going to do with the money. Our family budgets are built upon planning and saving. We would like you to do the same. Instead of asking for funds to cover the entire project, how about putting figures to the items that you want one at a time and giving us a chance to vote for or against parts of the project that we feel could wait, such as maybe the recreational facilities or, quote, related improvements. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
You're not allowed to clap or boo or anything like for that. We're in a public meeting, so that's the rules. Sorry. It's not coming from me, but that's just how the state is, okay?
It's me again, Larry. Reset that. Thanks. So I support what she said. I kind of, again, I'm getting mixed messages from the city government concerning our voices, people. I'm wondering if you even hear what we have to say. 2 years ago, you proposed a bond for a building, and it got rejected by the people, but you did it right. You put it to the vote. It was on that ballot, and we were able to say yes or no. 85% of the people said no, 16% said yes. Well, now I just got this notice yesterday, and this is the first time I've heard of this bond, and basically you're saying you want to issue this bond, but my concern is not the issuance, or my concern is that it's not going to be on the ballot for a vote, because you're saying here that we have 30 days, and then you quote a code, Utah code from 1953, that says we have 30 days to get a petition signed by at least 20% of the active voters of Harrisville. And then if we do that, then you will decide whether or not to put it to the voters for approval or rejection. That seems underhanded. That seems shady to me at best. A bond issuance should go to the voters. We should decide. But what I'm kind of fearing here is that you're afraid of what the people will say. You're afraid that the people will reject it again. And so you don't want it to go to the vote on the ballot. And because if we say no again, it doesn't fit your master plan for the city to expand and to build buildings and all that. But this just seems a little shady to me, if not even tyrannical. I mean, this is what we, the people, have the right to say whether we're going to do bonds and get taxed more or less. I mean, it's up to us. And the city council here is the go-between between us, the citizens, and the employees of the city. Of course, the city employees want all these fancy buildings and pay raise, all these fancy things. But sometimes that's against what we the people want, and you're the go-between that has to mediate that and decide what's best. But you're our elected officials, and please do it the right way. Please let us vote for the bond the right way. Thanks.
I'm not going to allow that. I said that once, please don't do it again.
Good evening, Rick Wetz. Several months ago, you guys put the vote for a $6 million bond. The residents said no, and here we are again. It was funny during that previous open forum for that, one of the members did a prayer and said, pray that we listen to the residents. Evidently that prayer was not answered, because here we are again. I do not want a recreational facility. It is not fair to put that burden on the residents of the city. if you want a new police station in the city council building, and I like this lady's idea back here, let's put it on one at a time here. Recreation facility, no, I don't want it, I'm against it. And please, and as that gentleman said, let the residents vote on this. It's our money. You have to get that money from somewhere. The city government does not produce revenue to pay for this. So where are you going to get the money from? Tax increase is the only thing I can see. And that's not mentioned anywhere in that notification for this bond. How are you guys going to pay for this? I don't know anything about a lease bond. A quick study in the internet says you repay it through a rent payment. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But if it is, where do you guys get rent money from? Taxation. So it's back on the residents again. Please do not go down this road and adopt this $10 million bond that turns into an $18 million bond in the 26 years it takes to pay it off, or whatever that was in the letter. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
In March of this year,
Can you please state your name?
John Perry.
Thank you.
In March of this year, this council voted to create the Harrisville Development Authority. Is that correct? I know you won't answer me, but it is correct. It's in the agenda. It's in the meeting minutes. And for the public citizens here tonight, I was at that meeting, and I've been at previous meetings where this was discussed. And the building authority gives the council, because they are the members of the lead building authority, the ability to create taxes and responsibility or legal or financial responsibilities.
Mr. Perry, can you address the council, please?
For the people of the city without the citizens voting on that. And that's where we're at today, from what I can see, is you have the ability, because not only are you on the city council, but you're also members of the building authority. And you can incur debt for the city that the city is responsible for, and in turn create taxes, additional taxes and responsibility for the citizens of the city. I think that was a terrible thing to do. I've expressed my opinions before about this. I think you're subverting the responsibility and the voice of the people in doing this. And I wish you would rescind your vote and remove the building authority. I think the people have the right and the responsibility and the wisdom to make that decision for themselves and for this community. We need to plan and save for our future. How many of you in your family life create debt like this against your home and family? Not very many of you, I doubt. And so why would you try to do it to the rest of us? That's the problem with government agencies and leaders. They don't take responsibility for their actions, and when it comes with dealing with public money versus their personal money. And that's what I'd like to see you guys do. Take responsibility, treat our money like your personal money. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Kathleen Hohash, and I reside at 1149 North, 100 East here in Harrisville. I do want to thank you guys for your service, first of all, but you need to remember you each took an oath when you decided to become a city council member. And I'm hoping part of that oath was to the Constitution. I wonder if any of you really know the Constitution and what it says. I will go over that here in a minute. But I will tell you a case from McCulloch versus Maryland. It says the government proceeds directly from the people. This is a Supreme Court case. You guys get your power from us. We don't get it from you. It is ordained and established in the name of the people. The government of the Union then is emphatically and truly a government of the people in form and in substance. It emanates from them. Its powers are granted by them, are to be exercised directly on them and for their benefit. For our benefit, not for your employees' benefit, for our benefit. We are the people. We are the residents. I'm not going to use the word citizens. We are the residents of Harrisville. Thomas Jefferson said, a wise and frugal government, frugal means you watch where your spending is, which shall leave men free to regulate their own pursuits of industry and improvement, and shall not take from the mouth of labor bread it has earned. In other words, you're not going to take from your residents money they have worked hard for and earned. This is the sum of good government. What I see now is not good government. 2 years ago, we voted against the bond, $6,000. The residents told you we didn't want it. We didn't want a recreation center. So now 2 years later, like, well, okay, they didn't want $6,000, let's do $10,000. Maybe they'll approve that. No. It says we can contest within 30 days. I contest now that money. Our founding fathers, one of the things that they wanted when they did the Constitution was that any debt that is created is paid off within the generation that is created. If it is not paid off, that's theft. $10 million is going on not from this generation, from another. That is theft. If you guys do that, you're stealing from the next generations. It's theft. That is exactly what our founding fathers said. And by creating this debt, one of the things in the framers' formula for lasting freedom is consent of the government. Consent of the governed. We have a voice, and I hope you're listening to that voice, and that you realize that we, the people, we voted against it 2 years ago, and I believe it should go back to a vote again. Thank you.
Council members. My name is Will Slade. I've lived in Harrisville for 18 years. I can be very quick. I love the suggestion that was made earlier of, can we see the plan? Can we see in detail each line item of the plan and how money is allocated to each component of this building? And I just wanted to kind of add one more request to that, if we can go that route, because I do understand being compliant with mandated security requirements, things like that. I have to do those same kinds of things in my line of work, but I would be very interested to know, of the monies already allocated and potentially to be allocated, how much of those are going toward items that are truly required to compliance, how much of it is going to future planning of, well, we may outgrow this facility in 5 years if we don't do this right, and how many of those are nice to have kind of items, you know, a breakdown to where we can really understand what the required monies are for what you're saying that we're not in compliance. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mayor, City Council members. My name is Jana Frost. Sorry, I have a voice thing today. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I'm not sure I'm here to speak for or against it, to be quite honest with you. I have been thinking about this, and I think the reason why the recreation building was voted down 2 years ago was because residents maybe see the splash pad never up and running, or some other things like that, and like, how is money being spent? I know when I called and talked to our city administrator, she spoke about that being from a grant, and it wasn't planned very well of how they were going to keep that up and going. As a resident, that's a little alarming to me, because now you're asking for a bunch of money. and I just want to make sure that it's planned out well. When I called about concerns about the splash pad and just to ask some questions, and I called the number that I should, I got this message that said the user's mailbox is not available at this time, which I thought was very interesting, that someone in our city I cannot call and speak with. I think that is an issue. And then I hear a few days later that they want $10 million for buildings. So I called and I said, Ms. Knight, could you please explain this all to me? And there was, like, we didn't know the plan. As far as like line item I had requested, how much is the taxpayer going to be responsible for? She didn't even know what the tax rate was going to be from the state at that time. So I feel like we're moving forward and we don't have a lot of information. The public, maybe you do, but when I called, there was not a lot of information about what this actually looks like. I think we're very reasonable people out here. If you need something, convince us. That's what the school district does. They show us what they're going to build. They tell us why, they tell us the numbers, they had meetings. I don't know if these people went, but I went. And so that's why I think some of the bonds are voted for, some of them are voted down. Some of the suggestions have been really, really great tonight. We just want to know what we're paying for and the whole plan of how we're going to sustain this so we don't end up with another splash pad fiasco, if I can just put it like that. I appreciate your time. Like I said, I'm not necessarily for or against it. I want you, the city, to convince me, the resident, the taxpayer, the voter, that we need this. And then I'll vote for it. But I should get to vote for it.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah Liddell. I live in Harrisville, and I believe that we need a jail that is compliant. But right now, you could move the jail, you could build a new jail that's compliant with all the things you need, and you could tell us exactly how much it's going to cost. You could build it. City Hall could stay here. And then after you get that done, because if you get the jail out of here, you'll have more room. And they'll have the right facilities. Why do you have to build it all at one bunch? If you can't even tell us how much it's going to cost. And it makes more sense to do this in bites, because obviously it's too much for you guys to comprehend, even a builder to comprehend. If you take chunks of it, you could basically tell us how much it's going to cost and possibly convince us that that's what we need to do. And it would be more timely. Bonds are not the way. That is still a tax. You might call it not a tax, but we end up paying for it. Also, I'm with No Rec Center. I see how badly the parks are managed. And if you can't take care of that, why in the world would I give you money to build a rec center that you can't take care of? That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name's Christine Robinson, and I've lived in Harrisville about 26 years now, I believe. I worked for the tax commission. That's where I retired from, the Utah State Tax Commission. I was pretty vocal 2 times ago when you guys were trying to raise your taxes and our taxes, and I'm pretty upset that you raised us 160% taxes, and here we have, you know, we voted this down, but you're going to throw it down our throats anyway because this is what you guys want to do. I know that there's things that are needed, but I think in this day and age, the economy's in the toilet. I'm looking at going on a fixed income. I'm 69 years old and I'm still out driving a semi trying to make ends meet. I've got a neighbor down the street from me that's 82 years old that is still working because she can't make ends meet. I mean, what are you guys trying to do to us? Your taxes up more, and I know this is gonna cost more, and people, if you don't think this Northview Fire thing isn't gonna cost us money, I got news for you, because if they'll bond for that too, and they're already taxing us on another, whole nother plane. So that will, our taxes will go up from there. I'm really ticked off at all of you, and I hope all of you get voted out in the next election.
Good evening, my name is Craig Adam. This evening, what I want to really address is, out of this city council and a lot of governments, I keep hearing about affordable housing. You've all touted affordable housing in this community before in the past. But what do you think these taxes and these bonds do for the affordability of housing? How does that help people on limited income to get a house? How does that help young people get into a house if we keep raising? And don't get me wrong, I'm sympathetic to our police department that they need to have the proper facilities. I understand that there are federal regulations for things like ADA compliance for accessibility. There are things that are beyond the control of this council. But at the same time, we need to do it in a fashion that is financially responsible, fiscally responsible, and also answers to the community. You've had a lot of good suggestions here tonight. I truly hope that you take them to heart. You listen to the people who voted you into this office and who pay your salaries. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything prepared because I was planning on watching this and doing it online because of other places I needed to be tonight. Even though I called ahead of time, got all the information, it's still not working. So those of us at home are not being able to get this online, just so you know. Thank you very much for your service. Some of us have been residents in Harrisville for a very, very long time, 39 years. We have done our part. My husband served on the planning commission for 16 years, 2 terms as the chairman. And as you know, when you serve, your family serves. We worked so hard to bring in Walmart, to try and help save our city. It was on the borderline of bankruptcy because we couldn't meet our needs. We couldn't meet our needs, not our wants, but not our needs. I've been, Brian knows every member of my family individually because we worked so hard to try and keep the recreation program going. We've been here in these city councils. We have offered you our time. We have offered you our sweat. When this bond was going through last year, I emailed every single council member individually. I offered some solutions, I offered some suggestions, and did not even get a response. I received 1 response from Matt. Thank you very much. I have called when they had problems with Heritage Days. I volunteered my time. I have volunteered. I have personally spoken, volunteered to some of you. I emailed the person this 3 years in a row. Not a response. You have citizens that are trying to support you, and you're not using us. We all live here. We all want to succeed. There are other options, and when I've asked about those other options, they haven't been pursued. I feel I'm an intelligent person with skills and background that supports those options that I have suggested. I can't even get a phone call or an email back. There are ways to make this work. If we use our citizens and we use the skills that we possess within our city, we have some very intelligent people. We were part of the people over at the parks volunteering our time to clean it up so that then it made it easier for us to maintain. Those people who came and brought their families and sweated and worked in those parks are sad to watch them now deteriorate. It was sad to go over to 1100 the other day and watching the sprinklers flooding the mud. We need to pay attention to what we're doing. We need to use our citizens. Everything does not have to be built brand new. There are other options. Please listen to us. Please let us help you. And let's work together.
Thank you.
doing this, but my name's Beverly Folger. I just live down the street, and I appreciate the police presence around my house. I always know that they're around. When I got this Harrisville newsletter, it says Harrisville happenings. And I thought, well, that's good. Let's see what's in it. We need money for this. We need money for that. Oh, and we're going to do a bond issue that we all voted down a couple of years ago. So you're thinking that cutting the garbage and you're going to get that extra $21 is going to help the budget and build the bond, help the bond build all of this stuff? Down at the end of the road here on Independence, that's the biggest mess. That used to be a gorgeous ballpark. Now, it's covered in cat tails and weeds and duck houses. The splash pad, that's recreation. It's not working. I walked up there with my 2 baby granddaughter, or my grandbabies. A 6-month-old and a 3-year-old. I walked up there and it wasn't working. And I'm thinking, this says it's open. It was open, but it's not now. I just want to go on record to say, I do not appreciate this bond issue. I would like to vote for it. And I will say what I said one of the last meetings was, yes, you did pray for Heavenly Father to listen to the citizens of Harrisville and do what we, the citizens, would like to see done. Thank you. Thank you. Weiss. This is my dad up on the wall here. He was the first mayor of Harrisville. I remember many nights and discussions with him when we were trying to bring the sewer into Harrisville all those years ago, and the nights that he just couldn't sleep because he was so concerned about the citizens and how they felt about what was happening in Harrisville. I don't get that feeling from our council any longer. I remember Dad was so excited about the little tiny house. Do you remember the first little tiny house that had a real place for the Harrisville mayor and commission and council to meet? He was so proud of that little house that had been moved from one place to a new foundation. And he was proud of this building, and it was needed. But he was so concerned about the citizens of Harrisville and how they felt about things. My feeling from this council now is that you know better than we do. They just don't understand. They're not intelligent enough to know what is needed in the city. They don't understand it, and so we'll just try and do it under the carpet and behind their backs. That's the feeling that I get from the council, and I've known you all for a long time, and it's very disappointing to me that we feel like we're not being listened to, we're not being supported. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Bunn. I was not planning on getting up tonight, but as I've been sitting there, I've been making a list. I'm a list person. I have been here in Harrisville for 2 months. I was hoping to escape the fun of my HOA in my townhome the last 14 years, and now I'm coming to this. I don't know which is better. I understand growth, and as everybody's talked about, growth is what's happening. And I know it's my favorite quote with work is, the only constant is change. We all struggle with change, but we need to change in the right ways. And as everyone has mentioned, several have mentioned, What is the money going to? The rec center doesn't sound like a need based on other community properties. Police department, I fully support. My dad was a fireman my whole life. Totally support the public services in our towns. As someone mentioned, if they can build a new building, have a jail, follow all the regulations that are needed, there's room here for City Hall. I don't know, because again, I've only been here 2 months, but since the pandemic, I don't know if there's been people working remotely from home. I mean, you might need a couple of office people here and there, but why do we need to be in a building anymore? Why can't we work remotely? I've been working remotely for 3 years, as is a lot of my company. We have buildings that are sitting there empty, that we're paying rent on, that they're not needed anymore. So I don't know if that's been taken under consideration of remote work. It can be done. Fortune 500 businesses are doing it. I mean, it's Harrisville City should be able to do it if it hasn't already been done. As someone else mentioned, the economy is hitting everyone's pocketbook. I am a one-income household. You know, I made a lot of considerations before I moved up here, and this is just a little disturbing hearing of these millions of dollars raising taxes. So just wanted to leave those thoughts, and thank you.
Thank you.
My name is David Anderson. I live on North Harrisville Road. I think I've been to this podium too much lately. Each time I've spoken here, recently we haven't been listened to, and that is disturbing, as the young lady just said. The tax increase that we just received was more than certainly I thought we needed. The fact that you want to build a property down below my house, which is A1 zoned, with a workaround to give this cluster housing postage stamp lots, yet in the additional acreage that the houses would need would be donated to or given to the community. Where is the maintenance for that coming from? Where is the money coming from? It all goes back to me and us. I am on a fixed income, no longer employed by anybody but me. And I can't afford it. I was hoping to live a pretty comfortable life in retirement. I don't want to go get another job other than the one I do when I'm with a guitar in my hand. So you need to listen. We voted this down 2 years ago. I am okay. I support the public safety. Put it on a paper. Let's figure it out. Let's itemize the things that we need, not that you need, that we need in the community. In fact, you need to make sure North Harrisville Road isn't a speed trap. Speeding. I have a dog. I have grandchildren. Let's pay attention on North Harrisville Road. That's been brought up here before. Please, let's itemize this. Let's make it community friendly. Okay? Because none of us can afford a $10 million bond at the current interest rate, which I'm told you've already figured out how to lower it. Not in this month, not in this economy. Thank you for your service.
My name's Doug Weezy. I've lived here for about 50 years. And I'm making a formal request of this council and the mayor and everyone here. I want a line item budget. How are you going to spend the $10 million? And if you cannot give it to me, then you cannot have it. Because you don't know what you're doing. You're saying, I want that money, but nobody's yet been able to tell us exactly how. Now, if you want us to stand here and support you, give us a line item budget so we can take a look at it and see where, how, and for what. Now, I've watched enough bidding and I've been involved in state government long enough to know that you get that bid back, and that bid's gonna have line item costs for everything that you're gonna do. We damn well better see it. So I'm making a formal request from this council and this city to get us a line item budget for that $10 million. Then we will talk to you about it. But without that, you're just asking for money. And you can't tell us where you're really going to spend it. Well, a little bit here, well, maybe a little bit here. Hey, that doesn't cut it. So that's my request, and it's a formal request. I want a line item budget. How you intend to spend that $10 million. Where, how, and how much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Delpass, I'm with Dave, spent too much time here. I would like to see an option. Do a 10-year plan. Have some options of, okay, we build a fire or a police department building. Now we're compliant, everything's good. We open up this space here, now we're good here for a few more years. Give it a few years, pay some stuff off, then we proceed with another building. That's how I have to work. That's how I have to run my company. That's how I have to do my personal finances. Why can't we do it here? Give us an option instead of, there you go, take it.
Thank you.
My name is Chad Davis. What I wonder is you can't keep 3 bathrooms open over here at the park due to vandalism. How would I give you $10 million?
Can I approach one more time?
No, sir.
I'd sure like to.
I'm Sandy Cole, and I just want to mention that this is a small community, small houses, no big mansions, no rich people, and we can't afford this. There are senior citizens and young families that are just starting out, and the senior citizens have a limited budget. We can't afford this. Thank you.
Go. They won't let me do it.
Your whispers carry more than most people.
Mr. Barry, you want to introduce yourself?
Everybody, maybe. Maybe my time will be up. Like my wife says in church, she says, all you'll do is get too emotional on all these things, but I've heard a lot of things tonight. And I agree with a lot of these things, but the thing about it is the city's not really telling the people exactly what's going on. I have a lot of people come up and ask me a lot of things that are pertaining to the city, and I tell them that if we can find out what the numbers are, maybe we can find out exactly what's going on. You see a nice picture of all these buildings. I I wish they would put on a graph of how much the taxation is going to cost every time we add on all of these buildings over on 750, because it's not 10 million. It's 5 million for the street department, 6 million for the recreation facility, and probably 15 million for the municipal building and the cop and the police station. If that's not right, then you can tell me. But I've been to a lot of meetings before I broke my neck. I've never heard of anything from the city that tells us what that taxation is going to be as we add on all these bonds. This gentleman from Zion's, maybe he could tell us exactly what those figures are going to be. I don't know, but I don't get that from these meetings to find out exactly what's going on in the city. All I see is a picture of things that may help us, and they probably would help us, but let's do it to where we can afford it. I just don't think that the city can afford what they're doing, because what they're going to tear down is not going to pay hardly anything for what we're trying to put together.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm up here on an errand, but my name is Linda Gaz, and I have lived in Harrisville for over 50 years. I've lived in the same house, the same place, the same address, which I'm very thankful for because it's not hard to remember. But I'm going to take just a little bit different twist on this. Yes, we do want to know how this is going to be paid for. We all have our own approaches, but my take on this evening is that 99% of the people who have gotten up and spoken are worried about how they're going to pay for it and how they're going to be able to live and pay for it. I know it's not going to all come from my pocket or your pocket or individual pockets, but and I don't for 1 minute believe that one of these people are trying to hide anything from us. I don't believe that. But obviously, we need to know how we're going to pay for whatever it is we're building, and where's the money coming from? Obviously, it isn't all coming from my pocket or your pocket or anybody else's single pocket, but we need to know how we are going to pay for it. The one other thing that I need to say really quickly, I, for one, voted for a recreation building. I want my children in this neighborhood because it is a good neighborhood. I don't want them crossing the highway or going down the road, going down West Harrisville Road to another city to take advantage of the things that are offered through their recreation program. I want them in my neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to do a last call. Okay, seeing no further comments, I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries, thank you. Really, thank you for your participation. We appreciate you all being here. We are going to move on to item E, then Lomond Views discussion. Jennie Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an opportunity that we have as staff to kind of update you on what's going on with the Ben Lomond Views development and to get some guidance from you on what direction you'd like staff to go. With regard to the Millennium Park, we are very close to holding a pre-construction meeting for the installation of the new improvements at the park that were demolished, I believe, 2 seasons ago. The actual improvements will be phased into 2 phases so that we don't interrupt the irrigation season with the water out of 6 Mile Creek during the watering season. So staff has met with potential buyers of the project. I believe that council is aware that the lender took ownership of the project a couple of months ago, and they are putting in some of the improvements themselves and are looking to sell the project to a new developer. There is some concern with the potential buyers regarding the city's retaining ownership of the Millennium Park, as was negotiated in the initial master development agreement. But because this is a regional retention basin, we're not going to give up our ownership of that. So due to this conflict, the lender's asking the city to consider renegotiation of portions of the park agreement. What those details look like, we have come up with a couple of suggestions, but the one that makes the most sense to staff is that their HOA would pay a maintenance fee for our own crew to maintain that park and the new facilities that will be installed there. They will still be covering the costs and the construction of the infrastructure that was originally outlined in that agreement, but the long-term maintenance and replacement of the infrastructure that would be put in there would need to be addressed in the city for our moving forward strategic plan. As many of you have noticed, the sewer line is currently being installed in Highway 89. The developer has been working with the UDOT on the resurfacing project, and they must be completed and out of the UDOT right-of-way by mid-July. And so you see that work taking place now. The staff is also, sorry, I mentioned that we've met with some potential buyers of the project. All of the buyers of the project have indicated, and this is just to make you aware of some of the discussion points, but all the buyers have indicated that the density allowed in the development is too low to support the commercial elements that are included in there. Some have said that they're still interested in purchasing the project, but would anticipate not having those commercial pieces filled in for a number of time after the residential would be. So we're, as staff, looking for some direction on what type of negotiation options that council might be open to, if any at all. We have been really protective of the 2 phases that have already received their approvals. 2A, I pulled up the master plan here. So 2A is the portion here on the highway and some of this interior, and 2D, this is the 2D section, because they have received full approvals, and we were trying not to inhibit the moving forward of the project, but we just need to know if you'd be open to us talking about density changes, or if you want us to stand by the existing development agreement.
They'd be willing to come and sell themselves to us?
One potential buyer has offered to come do a presentation to the council, yes, and I can make arrangements for that if you're interested, collectively interested in that.
I think at a minimum we got to see who we're going to be dealing with.
There would be no guarantee after their due diligence that they purchased it, but it would open an opportunity for you to talk to them.
Well, I think that helps as far as the visibility of what we've been talking about here. At least the public can come if they want to and meet what's going on, so at least they're aware of what we're discussing.
The public can be here and hear them.
The developer has some information on how the city can partner with development to address the affordable housing issues that we're all facing, and he would be willing to give that presentation. In fact, he reached out to the mayor and I just a few days ago asking, and I indicated that we would have a brief discussion at tonight's meeting, and I would get back with him on whether or not you would like a presentation. It's up to you. We'll follow through with what you'd like.
I'm always interested to see what people can do with affordable housing. I'm interested.
Would he be interested in moving the commercial out to the highway?
Not under this current plan, because 2A is all the housing on the highway. If that's received approval, that would be a little tricky and complicated without renegotiating the entire concept plan.
So they want to take the commercial out?
No, they're not asking for housing, or excuse me, the commercial to be eliminated. They're asking for an increase in density to support the commercial that's planned. That's their request. I wouldn't have come to council if it wasn't a request by multiple developers.
No, I think we need to at least talk to them, because we can't go without any of the commercial, because that's what's going to take the tax burden off of everybody who's here. And if we don't get those businesses coming in, that's who we rely on to pay for everything. So we need to get more businesses in here, and I think that's where we need to start, is with the conversation.
Okay. Do I have a head nod from all council members then? If you'd like to see a presentation? I'll plan that likely for your July meeting if he's available for that schedule.
Thank you. All right, item F is a risk assessment. Jill Hunt.
Hopefully you guys were able to look through your memo. It pretty much outlines everything that's required. This is required by the state auditor. We have to do it every year. So just a brief overview. It helps make sure that we have our checks and balances, both with anybody that's handling money deposits, anything with checking accounts, the checks, payroll, the whole 9 yards, just to make sure everyone's honest and we take care of any possible risk. It does go over to make sure that we have policies in place, that we have to abide by the policies that we have. And we are actually at very low risk, which is great. We're just missing 2 policies that we're working on. So that will soon get us to completely low risk, which is out of everything, we're at 385 out of 395. So, and what that also includes is every employee, which you guys have actually had to sign, as well as our planning commissioners, that they will be ethical in their duties and everything that they do, and they have to sign that every year. Did you guys have any questions? Sweet.
Thanks, Jill. We don't have to take any action. We do need a motion to accept Jill's report.
I'll make a motion that we accept the report from Jill.
Second.
The risk assessment.
The risk assessment.
Okay.
Second.
Second's good with that. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks again, Jill. That's a lot of work. Item G, discussion, possible action to adopt Harrisville Resolution 24-10, which is a resolution updating the Consolidated Fee Schedule. Jennie Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Consolidated Fee Schedule includes 2 updates in this amendment. The first one is the garbage rate for the second can has been increased to the same cost as the first can. We have noticed, as has been mentioned previously in this meeting, that we've noticed this in the June newsletter to offer residents the opportunity to request for the second can pickup before the rates are increased on July 1st. And also the business license fee schedule in the Consolidated Fee Schedule has been updated to the new business license fees that were adopted in April of this year. So we have also noticed that in the June newsletter, with plans to continue noticing until the renewal time for businesses in November. Are there any questions about these 2 items?
No,
or
I just
any other?
wanted, for the public's sake, a review of just why we had to go so much more for the public, for the second can, because that's been mentioned today, and maybe just a point of clarification, that we were in debt as far as not raising enough money to take care of that second can.
Yes, I'd be happy to address that. The garbage fund, as was pointed out in our audit report from our 2023 fiscal audit, the garbage fund was operating in a deficit. The garbage is an enterprise fund. It is not paid for out of general funds. It must be a self-sustaining fund, and it was operating in a deficit. And so the city council opted this, as we learned through our investigation, the tipping fees are the same cost. We do not get a discount on our tipping fees on the second can. So the same amount of garbage is collected in your first can and your second can, and the city pays the same tipping fee amounts for those two cans. So it became no longer financially viable for the city to cover those costs of the second can tipping fees with a reduced rate.
Any other questions?
No, in our discussion with that too, you know, we should be responsible for the amount of trash that each of us produces. You know, we can't expect the city or anyone else to pay for something that we're producing. And so I feel like that is an appropriate step that we need to take to stay in the black, rather than move funds from somewhere else because we have a deficit. So.
Any more discussion on that? Thank you for your input. If you're okay, I'd like to entertain a motion for this. Item G. I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion to adopt Harrisville Resolution 20-10, 24, thank you. A resolution updating the Consolidated Fee Schedule.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. This is also a roll call vote. Councilmember Williamson.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Fawcett.
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number H, 750 West Police Department building discussion. Jennie Knight.
Thank you. So staff gave a brief, we gave a brief update with the public hearing, and we're happy to go into as much detail. We've gathered our team together for you tonight. We've got Marcus and Trevor from Cruise. We've got Jessica Hardy, our finance director. We've got our attorney here, and our other staff members in support of any type of discussion you'd like to have. I'd like to point out this is not an action item. We're looking for no action to be taken on this. We just want to be able to relay information that we have, new information from our May's meeting, and just let you know what the staff's plan is moving forward to try and address the transparency questions that have been brought up during the public hearing. So to briefly overview what we said earlier, we've met with the architect and identified cost savings to reduce the project total down to approximately $14.6 million. At the current projections, that would bring the additional needed bond amount to $5.6 million. We've ordered appraisals for City Hall, Lot 2 of the Harrisville Complex subdivision, and the city property owned on 700 North. All of those appraisals should be completed by the end of June, so you'll have that information in July. We are planning to hold a public open house from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on July 9th prior to the regularly scheduled council meeting. At that meeting, we're working with our architect to have cost analysis, projected cost analysis of each of the elements of the plan. And again, these are projected amounts based on the programming that we identified in the phase of talking about the needs and wants of the city. So we just in recent news received our certified tax rate about 10 p.m. last night. And Jessica and I met right after her workday today prior to this meeting, and the 2024 certified tax rate has decreased to 0.001486. So to recapture what we've typically done the last year, after the property tax increase of 2022, the recapture to the 0.001500 rate would be a $3.85 increase per year per household, which amounts to a 0.94% increase if the council opts to just maintain the current rate. And then we have some projected payments and bond scenarios from the May meeting for the issuance of $5 million or $6 million. These are new numbers that Marcus's team has provided to us for discussion here, and what that would look like. If council would like to go into any of those details, we're happy to do that.
So I want to clarify something. I've heard the term jail used twice tonight. Is there a jail or a holdings facility going to be incorporated in our PD?
No, no holding facility at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
Marcus, explain to me what we've been talking about jail, the jail facility.
Well, I think that's
just give me a clarification. That's all.
This is the police department only. This is not. It doesn't have a holding facility. It doesn't have holding cells. It's not part of the jail. The jail is located on 12th Street. River County Jail is only used for jail services.
Okay.
So RPD will not have holding cells. When you start putting those into a building, you start having to abide by some different rules and laws. So once you put a holding cell in, if anybody's in there, it has to be monitored the whole time someone's inside the cell. With our jail being so close, I don't see that as a necessary item for the police department. I think that's a waste of money at the end of the day.
Would it be helpful if staff went through some of the things we've identified as cost savings from the original project, or?
Excuse me, I know you don't think so, but your voices really carry this way. Maybe ours don't go that way, but it's kind of hard for us to hear. So if you want to, you can take your conversations outside or just wait till later. Thank you.
Yeah, I would. I'd like to know.
Yeah. Would you? Okay. If that's helpful for this discussion, we're happy to address some of the things. One of the things that we talked about with council last month was the community room that the city has included in the city hall and council chambers. I think going into the details of why the city has concern about including a community room is up to you. But that is something that we could reduce square footage on if we want to cut costs additionally. We have not cut that out of the plan yet. But we have cut down a multi-purpose divisible wall that would have cut the community room off separately from the council chambers. We've identified that we would not use that. It would just be one in the same room. We've reduced infrastructure costs around the site regarding how many vehicle gates or whether they're automatic, paved drive connections, parking for city staff and the public. We've reduced the site sizes of those. We've combined any office spaces that we have identified that could be potentially built out at a later date. We have identified areas on the city hall portion of the building that could be used as common workspaces with cubicles rather than private offices to reduce square footage costs. We have reduced some of the police needs. We've taken off the Sally Port. That does create a secured storage area issue for the police department, but we have talked to the architect about doing a more cost-effective storage solution for that. We've combined office spaces between detectives and sergeants to reduce square footage there. We're sharing, the concept of sharing space with the Northview Fire was they would have a gym, we would not have a gym, that would be shared between us. We don't have any type of physical fitness in our own complex. We've talked about mechanical systems and any cost savings that could be identified in the HVAC system in the new building. We've talked about structural systems, braces, framing, even down to the electrical wiring and what options we have for cost savings on electrical wires. I do not have the comprehensive list from the architect at this time. I know based on public hearing received tonight that not knowing those numbers is difficult. From our experience with the Public Works building, we've opted to go this route to pay for the architectural services. From our experience with Public Works, when we put it out to bid, we had higher costs than we anticipated with the Public Works. What we didn't want to do in this case was to build a half building that we couldn't afford to finish. So that's why we're where we're at here. We want to make sure that the city is being responsible. If we even start the project, we want to know we're able to finish the project. And if that requires some type of phasing in the city council's direction, we will go that route as well. But at this point, we've tried to reduce costs with the combined building as much as possible.
Any questions?
Well, and I know that we've had a lot of comments made about a recreational building. Can we clarify that that's not included at all? That's a done, dead deal?
That is correct. The complex was noticed in its whole in the bond scenario for the local building authority. It also included our public works. There is a public works element phase 2 that would be included in this if we were to build all of it out. There is no recreational facility planned in any of the phasing that we have identified for this bonding scenario.
I know that we've been trying to combine the city offices with the police department. Do we have a conceptual idea of what just the police department is by itself?
So that's a hard question for us to answer.
I know it is. It's
only because of the shared spaces. For example, because we were combining spaces, we have one break room for the employees, which some of those spaces would have to be built regardless of whether we have a city hall and a police department combined. The police estimates for the police department are low at just under $8 million to build the police department. That number would go higher than the $8 million if we add the spaces that were upstairs, that were combined spaces, conference rooms, break rooms, things like that, that we were going to share spaces that would then need to be built for the police alone. So if we want to go that direction, again, we're in the programming phase. We haven't designed anything. We haven't gone down the road too far to not change our minds of what direction we're going. And so we can identify those and have that cost analysis done.
Tell me again what some of the things in the police department you were talking about that you looked at cutting back.
So probably the most impactful is the Sally Port, which is a square footage reduction. There's also been historically issues with employee safety with returning property, with evidence property returns. We had a solution included in there that Chief has identified we could remove, and we could just return property the same way we do here at the front window. This solution used part of the evidence room footprint to create a window where people could come and collect their property without interacting face-to-face with the staff. That was something that we decided we could reduce. Again, we combined, instead of having individual office spaces, we've combined offices between the sergeants and the detectives so that we have their own workstations, but they would be in a larger office versus having individual offices, which cut down and reduced some of the square footage as well.
Court offices as well, shared with.
Yes. We also reduced the court offices. We still currently hold court twice a month. And we had court offices identified separately. We've reduced those, and we will be sharing interview rooms the police department will use as the court offices that we'll be using twice a month to fulfill our court obligations. We've reduced the footprint of the multi-purpose room. We reduced the number of private offices on the second floor for the city hall. We removed the wellness room requirement. We are combining that with the police department. So again, some of these spaces, if we do individual buildings, will be a cost associated with one or the other. But we have combined those spaces down to where they're all shared spaces. Any other questions or directions that you'd like staff to go for future discussion or information on this?
Would the evidence and property rooms be the same room?
What do you mean by the property?
We'll just say that stuff we book in as evidence versus say the stolen bike we pick up.
So that's where it kind of comes into where we discussed the Sally Port would have been some of that secure storage. Right now we store our bicycles and stuff like that outside. So that is where we would have to come up with a more cost-effective storage solution outside besides having that Sally Port at the end. So yes and no. There's some items that are stored outside that you don't want in your building. I think that the cost savings that Jennie was talking about is we had a secure evidence return area where citizens could come in from the outside. The evidence custodian would place it in a small room. Then they would buzz the person in, they could come into that room, grab their property and leave. So that there would be a spot where they could slide paperwork back and forth from the evidence custodian, have that signed, and then the evidence would be placed there. They could come in and get it and then exit the building. So I think that's what you're asking?
Yeah, and then by doing so, there's no evidence contamination because of the...
Well, it's more of the, sometimes when you're returning evidence, it's some...
It's done.
The evidence custodian is not a law enforcement officer. So you want to try to limit that action between a non-law enforcement and some of the people that are picking up their evidence.
So what would, I mean, you probably don't have it, but I would like to know what the cost would be, because I think that's something that is something that's vital for the security of the people that work here. And the Sally Port too. I mean, yes, we can piece it to death, but I want to see something that they're able to grow into, that they're able to be secure and functioning. And so those two little things I don't think are
kind of needs versus wants.
Yeah, those are I think are needs.
There are other solutions for the evidence, and if that reduces some of the square, I mean, there are some different options where you still don't have to have. It could be a locker exchange in the lobby. Yeah, it's probably not as, the aesthetics of it's not going to be great, but there are options to that. The Sally Port, it is a security issue, but that would be one things that I would say that is the easiest to add on, if we had to.
But the thing about adding on, keep talking about adding on. If we build this building 6 months later, we need to add it on instead of doing it when we could have at this cost. You've now just jacked up the cost again, because costs every month, every day keep going up on these buildings. Every day. The school districts, they're just going to tax us again for $60 million because the cost went up. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're looking at. And so that's why we're talking, and that's why I feel that it's important that we at least find out what that is. I really do, because again, it's something that's a security, and yes, we can add it on, but if we wait 6 months, 8 months, a year, what's it going to cost us again in a year that we could have billed it for when we're building it? And that's, you know, that's the thing that we've been told as a council, that the costs keep going up. So that's just my, I would like to find that out from the company, please.
From the architect?
Yeah, I would.
So they've already indicated to staff that they will have, they will provide anything we ask for the open house in July to provide to the public. There are some proprietary things that they use that are not public information that they utilize to determine those numbers. So obviously we might not have all of the answers that we're looking for, but we certainly will have a good idea of where we're at. So with Jessica here and Marcus and Trevor, are there any questions related to what this looks like and how the city would pay for that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, if I could just make mention, sorry, just to add some clarification, because I kept hearing the word rec center and parks. And this was just, I apologize, an oversight on our side. We didn't catch it on the bond document, but I did notice that had been included as part of the project language, just to make sure everyone is aware. There is no parks, no recs ever contemplated as part of this project. This is all public works and police department. So I think there may have just been some old language from the GO bond that had been mentioned in there. So just and again, there's no bond that's been issued. So I think everyone's feedback has also been loud and clear that the city does not need to finance parks and recs at this point. And so we appreciate that. So we'll get that fixed on the amended resolution, and we'll get that all squared away. So just wanted to clarify that first and foremost. But to the point that Councilmember Weiss made, it is important to understand that construction costs, I mean, we're working on projects across the state, and there's two components to a construction cost. One, there's cost inflation, to understand that every month, every day, we look at it every year, they continue to rise. So a project, for instance, we're working on a large jail facility down in southern Utah. A project that had cost $60 million 2 years ago is now over $90 million. I mean, that's the kind of unfortunate inflation factor we're seeing. But also, too, one thing that to be aware of is that it's significantly more important to come in after the fact to build on pieces versus doing it while they're mobilized and together. So there's also that component, too. So I think that's a very good comment to make. Like, if we need to do it, let's do it now, because a lot of these contractors are going to bid a fixed cost minimum to even get their team ready to come out there and put on an addition or some kind of port. Now, I'm not saying we have to do that, but I'm saying if it's going to be done in a year from now, I would strongly suggest doing it in the first time, because it's going to be more cost effective for both the city as well as the residents who ultimately pay for these bonds and everything else. So just wanted to clarify on that point, and I apologize, Jenny, that's some egg on our face. So hopefully we got that clarified, and happy to answer any questions on the bond resolution or anything else at that point. So
thank you. Any more discussion?
I think we need to look at it two ways. One, the whole overall picture or thing, and also just the police station. I think we need to look at that and see what it would be just for the police station, and keep this building for for a little while. I'd like to see those numbers if we could.
Anything else? Anything more you wanted to recommend?
I actually really appreciate that clarification because I didn't see that was in there, and that helps me really understand where everybody is coming from. You know, and I'm new on the council since January, and so trying to get caught up and be up to date, you know. And some of these are really hard because we have a part where we speak and then a part where you speak, but no part where we actually get to communicate. And I feel like that's an incredibly frustrating format. And so we need to find some better way that we can be able to communicate. And I know a lot of that's on the website, but it's frustrating on both ends, I tell you that.
And I kept scratching my head because I kept thinking, why are we talking about rec centers? and then I actually looked back at the language, and I do see the line where it says parks and recreation facilities. And again, that should have not been included. There's been no plans to finance any portion of that from the city, at least from what we've talked about. Everything that we're talking about is pertaining to the Public Works, Police Department, and City Hall. So just to ease some minds there. So again, apologies for those that are upset, because I think the city, as was mentioned before, with some of these projects that are more optional and more kind of above and beyond what a city may need, they went out to that GO election and heard loud and clear from the city that that wasn't something that was appropriate at this point. So I think that was really good feedback. And that's, you know, and it was brought up, you know, we want to be able to communicate, and that's why we have these public hearings. These are required per state law so that we can receive the input. As we discussed last month with the city council, you know, to understand what the public wants with some of these that may not go to a GO election, this is the opportunity to hear what they're feeling and understanding. So if there had been a rec center component as part of this project, then obviously that would be something we really want to reconsider. But again, to clarify, there is no rec center or parks component to this project. So, but anyways, I'll sit back down and.
Jenny, I know that they don't have a crystal ball with Blair's, suggestion or request to say police department and then maybe leave the city hall off. See if they can spread it out, just an estimate of what it would maybe run to put city hall back or put the building in 5 years. Reasonable?
3.
Just 3 to 5 years. I mean, I'm not asking for hard numbers. I'd like to just say, okay, it could be 20% more, whatever they think. I know they can't see the future.
Right.
Sure.
But if just an educated guess maybe right now that we could look at.
So just to clarify, to repeat that back so that I make sure I'm asking them for the right information, you would like them to estimate the police department as a standalone building, and then you would like them to estimate what it would cost for the city hall to be built as a standalone building within 3 to 5 years after that, or as a combined, as an addition to.
I look at it as a phase 3.
Phase 3.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you from our meetings, they've told us if anything's going to be a need within 5 years, it's cheaper to do it at the time. With any space that you're going to build, to Marcus's point, the prices are going up. But certainly we can have them identify the separation of those. Yeah. That's essentially what we did with
just to identify
what you mentioned. You said for July they were going to prepare, have maybe not all the line items, but they would have a rough of the total, and so the public could see. Or is it just the us city council, or the whole public could see the line item?
So maybe it would be helpful if we describe the process, because there's 2 ways to go about building projects like this, right? You can go through the entire design phase and then put it out to bid, and then and hope that your bid comes back within the budget that you've set, right? And we've kind of taken a different fiscal approach to that, because the cost of just doing the architectural services are oftentimes $500,000. Staff was not comfortable obligating that to the city without council's directive of how we were going to go through with this project. So that's why we're at the point that we are, because we've completed the programming. What the future needs for 30 to 50 years is what we projected out of programming, what the city anticipates our needs would be. And so the proprietary software that the architect uses to identify those, I don't know that they would share that with the public, because their competitors would have access to that information. But they can certainly identify each element. And when you talk about line by line, we would own that when we buy it, right? We'd own that at the end of the architectural process, because then we've identified it specifically what Harrisville's building and what the cost is to that, what we projected that cost to be until we go out to construction bid. But if we ask them to show their cards before we've purchased the product, I'm uncomfortable obligating them to that.
Is it too late at that time to do the bond?
No, this is the first step.
You would do the bond after you have that information.
You could, yes, absolutely. The issuance of the bond, please, Marcus, you can address that.
That's a great question. So again, this is the process just to authorize the issuance. As it's always been discussed, we don't know exactly what the final cost would be. So this could be a $2 million bond. We did get a little bit generous, but as was recommended from the council last time, let's pull back on that. So even though the bond was adopted at the 10 million, it was our direction that the council only feels comfortable around that 5 or 6 range based off some of the numbers, but preferably even lower than that. And so this bond has not been issued yet. We're just kind of getting it all teed up, because there is certain legal requirements, such as the parameters resolution, the notice of public hearing, and then obviously the public hearing to even be able to do it. So once we get those final numbers, then the city would have the ability then to issue the bonds based off final cost, and then even at that point, the city has no obligation to issue the bond, right? They could say, well, we don't necessarily want to move forward at that point. So a lot of that would depend on the cost and the price and everything else. Some projects we've seen have come in, $10 million over bid, and they've just said, hey, we're going to take a pause on this. The unfortunate thing is, a lot of those people do end up coming back to the table, and the project's 12 million. It's just, and I don't say that to jokingly, because it's a very serious issue, but the unfortunate thing is, no one is seeing a decrease, because everyone has, all the contractors, all the construction people, everyone we have talked to has kind of said, we kind of see that the markets, where we have lots of business, but we're unwilling to do perhaps what we did even back in 09 and 10 and lose money or take a hit on some of these deals. They're like, we would rather just not do the work versus bid on it. So you're seeing a couple more people bid because some work has slowed down, but it's not affecting the actual price of the bid. They're just tighter. So it's a very tough thing. COVID has still had some impacts, unfortunately. But.
So, all right, I'll do it. So for clarification, if we were to get the bid or whatever what we're doing and then have those line items, we would still want to be able to publish those for everyone to look at because of the proprietariness of it, or is it at that point we've accepted it, this is what we're trying to do, and we can publish it?
Yes, it becomes public when we go out to bid. The contractors then have those estimations, and then they put their proposals together, right? Right.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
But I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think based off the feedback I'm hearing from everyone and from the city council members too, obviously we can just do our best estimations, but I think helping people understand how much does that public works phase 2 cost? How much does that police department cost? How much does the city hall cost? How much would it cost together? I don't necessarily, there are some that said, I want to see the line items, this. Obviously we won't have that information yet, but I think kind of breaking that out so they can see, okay, you said you needed 10 million. Obviously we know that we're going to be asking for much less than that, but show us where kind of what we have, our sources and uses. If this is the pot of money you need for your project, show us how you're planning to spend that for each section of the public works and everything else, just based off your estimations. Of course, most people know that those are just estimations and they would change as bids come in, but the hope is that they would be relatively close enough that it makes sense to people as they review it. And I feel like that's a lot of what I've heard from the public comment, just kind of organizing those different projects or scenarios, right? What's it with the police department? What's it with the police department and City Hall? And it sounds like that's something the architect's very much willing to do, and kind of have everyone come back here in that public hearing session to see those scenarios.
So my question really is, in the forum, we talked about the legality of raising 20% of people who want to put on a vote. How does that fit into this scenario? If we say 5 million or whatever it is, what's the legality that our public says, no, we want to vote on it? How does that fit into this whole scheme and sequence? Because that's one of the things I heard here.
So the law that was referenced is on any bond deal that you see outside of the GO bond. So sales tax bond, sewer, water, whatever that may be, everyone has the right, in any action taken by a city council, there's a process called referendum, and everyone has the right and the ability as a citizen or a resident within their area. So if it's city, county, an improvement district, they can pursue a referendum option, which would basically force any action to go to a vote from a city council, not just bonds. This is any action in general. And so the process would be on the burden of the residents to pursue that option if they wanted to at this point. But that would ultimately drive that to the vote or onto the ballot at that point.
So does that take place once we say this is what we're going to bond for? Then they have 60 days? I'm asking, what's that time frame?
So again, that's something I would say, I wish Brandon were here because he probably knows a little bit more on the legal details, exactly what that time frame is. But I believe there's a notification period that would have had to have been done after the parameters resolution was adopted. But I think the biggest point from this is why we have the public hearing is the city council and the mayor still have the authorization and direction or the ability to not pursue this financing as well. And so that's the point of the public hearing, not necessarily say, okay, you need to go through this legal process of referendum. It's, again, I think a perfect example would have been if we were raising $10 million for a rec center, based off this feedback, I think me and Brandon would say, guys, I think you've heard it loud and clear. Please do not do a rec center at this point, right? I mean, it just does not seem, I think there was a little miscommunication, and again, we can prepare additional information on July 7th to help break out the different projects too, but at the end of the day, the discretion, what the parameters resolution does is authorize designated representatives, which in this case would be the mayor, and the city council would have input as well, that if they feel, based off this public hearing, that it's efficient, cost-worthy to move forward, then they would be able to. But the citizens also have the right, if they wanted to pursue a referendum option, then that would be within their legal rights as well as citizens.
Well, and can we just kind of clarify as well that we're going through this process because we wanted to see what your thoughts and ideas were. We're not committing to anything. This is us seeing what our options are and seeing feedback. That's why we're here. We're not issuing a bond today. We didn't do it last month. Nobody wants to be dishonest here.
Yeah, and I wish, and I'm not sure if the minutes from the last meeting are available, but for people that had concerns, you should watch those minutes from the last meeting, because originally we came in to talk about a $10 million bond, and based off all that information, it's a lot of good information too, the city council pulled back immediately and said, hey, we don't feel comfortable with a $10 million bond. We need to be within this range, and that's why we do these legal hearings and everything else, so we can come together, talk with the finance director, talk with us, tell them, hey, if you're going to do this, this is how much it's going to cost, show them the numbers so that they have the discretion. And I apologize, I'm not supposed to be talking to the public, Mayor, but I think it's important that everyone realizes that a lot of the conversation and concerns from the public hearing today, a lot of those
had been addressed at the prior meeting too. And it was, at the end of the day, it was given discretion. Well, you know, we do want some flexibility, but in hindsight, you know, had we gotten the same input at the last meeting, we probably would have had a motion to say, actually, we're just going to decrease this from 10 million to 6 million as far as the parameter. I feel like that would have been a very good suggestion. There just wasn't as much people here to talk through it as anything else, but now we've gotten that feedback, so I feel like we kind of understand a little bit better what the residents want. So.
And I honestly thought that's what we did, but nobody ever said it.
Yeah, well, we gave at the end of the day, we said you can still adopt it at the 10, but the feedback we have gotten, just for simplicity, is that we are only looking at $4, $5, and $6 million options, and I believe that's actually in the minutes, and that was directly direction given to us from the council and the mayor at that point. So it's
we didn't officially say.
Yeah, exactly. So and at that point, even though it was adopted for 10 million, if somebody tried, if they came, oh, we're actually going to close, I'd say no. The direction I received from city council is we are within this range. So as the fiduciary to the city, I would not, you know, agree to move forward with that. So anyways, it's again, last meeting, again, there's a lot of good information. So if there's people that are eager to learn again about the, you know, potential payments and everything like that, we do have a lot of that available, and we'll come prepared as well in July, and we can have an entire breakdown as well to show people the bond payments. And again, I will give some credit already. I mean, particularly with the sales tax bonds that were issued in 2022, Jennie had to make some really quick decisions, which ended up saving the city about 200 basis points in interest, which 2%, which, as you can imagine, on a 20-year bond is millions of dollars in interest. So again, there are some benefits of doing it this expedited way, but again, we've heard from the public, and so I think it's appropriate. Let's make sure everyone's educated, and let's make sure everyone gets their concerns answered. And a lot of misinformation that, again, we should have caught when bond council drafted it, so I apologize. We can make sure everyone is aware that parks and recs are not considered as part of this island. So.
Can I add something for clarification? Just when we're looking at this and we've gotten direction to possibly look at, you know, phasing this, would we be better served to look at phasing this, but still essentially build the one building, knowing that the upstairs is mostly city hall admin, to not maybe finish that out at this moment, but essentially still have the building, because the second we go to build two different separate complete buildings, it totally skyrockets any ballpark figures that we have right now.
So phases is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, again, we essentially, as we've done in the public works, I have a second story for future growth. It is not being, walls are not being put in, you know, the infrastructure's there, but the extra cost that's associated with that, if you're looking at a 3 to 5 year plan, it is fiscally irresponsible to do two buildings. It adds so much more infrastructure. It adds more, you know, just the cost of construction will eat us alive. Would it be better served to still continue in our programming phase, looking at this as a whole, with maybe saying, hey, let's maybe dial back the second floor, if that's at all cost savings, in a 3 to 5 year plan?
It makes sense to me, you know, because if you build walls, you can always build inside the walls. And I think that's something that I would be interested in looking at, if that makes sense. So what you're saying, Justin, is build the walls.
You know, I'll have to rough in all the infrastructure.
Yes, you rough in everything, but essentially those contractors are on site already doing the first floor.
Right.
They rough in everything on the second floor. We have minimal costs. Well, better cost points and fixed cost points at bid. yes, it's not ideal. We want to do this all in one. We want to get it all done and move forward as a city. But from the feedback we're all hearing, from everything we're hearing, if it breaks down to we can only do one element right now, the element should be the actual building, and then still have that infrastructure, have that structure in place, so that in 5 years from now, we don't bring in a whole nother building, try to find a separate footprint. Again, I'll tell you right now, we're having a little issue on the Public Works building with the material that's in the ground. It's a very clay soil. We have to do different cross sections under the roadways to maintain the integrity of the asphalt and concrete. So again, the one building kind of still, I think that's the concept that really bolsters the city and would save the money.
I think that's where the old swimming pond was, wasn't it?
Is that an option that you like?
I was just gonna say yes. I think, just
Thank you for that suggestion. That's probably a better option than just looking at just.
Possibly the best option is to have the architect here, so I'll see if they're available. And that would probably let them speak for themselves. I'll see if they're available to participate in that open house. And then they may be willing to share some numbers without disclosing the whole spreadsheet. Yeah. So I'll check with them and see, based on this discussion, that's probably the best direction to go.
I think one of the key elements I heard tonight was the more information we can get out to the public. I think that's a good communication to make them feel like we're asking them to come in. And I really appreciated that tonight. As I listened, it wasn't a negative comment, it's hearing, listen to what I have to say. And yeah, you're very important. These things weigh heavy on us. You need to know that. This isn't something that's taken very lightly.
Can I make an additional statement?
No, sir.
I would just like to.
Well, you brought us here on false bond.
Sir, you're out of order.
pretenses, and
Sir,
you should allow us to read the fact.
There's public comments later in the meeting
At the
agenda.
end.
Sir, there's public comments again at the end of the meeting.
Okay. Well, they can say that.
On the agenda.
Is there anything else? All right, thank you for that discussion. I think that's really helpful. And
I would just like to say, I wish more people had stayed to get the information about it's hard to communicate when only one side is heard.
right, which is why we have determined in July we'll have an open house. So because we do want transparency, we want to have everyone understand the process. All right, this is a long meeting tonight, but we have more things to get through. The next thing is number 7. It's a closed executive session. This is for the purposes described under Utah Code, 52-4-205-1D. It's a strategy session to discuss the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property, including any form of a water right or water shares, or discuss a proposed development agreement, project proposal, or financing proposal related to the development of land owned by the state, if the public discussion would prevent the public body from completing the transaction on the best possible terms. So in a closed executive session, I have to excuse the public. You are welcome to come back after this is over, but I need you to step out of this building now and then re-enter for the...
Out of the building or out of the room?
Is it out of it? I think it's out of the building.
There's still another agenda.
You can come back after.
I'll have them come out and tell you when it's time to come in.
In the meantime, I need a motion from council to enter a closed.
Yeah, closed session, and then I'll come back and come in.
And read the whole thing.
Yes, please.
All we're doing is going into a closed session.
No, you have to read that closed session for this purpose.
Oh, for this purpose.
For this purpose.
I make make a motion before
Set the microphones off.
described under
Carries out parking lots.
Thank you.
251E strategy session. Discuss purchase, exchange, or leases of property including any form of a water right or water shares, or discuss a proposed development agreement, project proposal, or financing proposal related to development on the land owned by the state, and public discussion to prevent public transaction of the best
At least it's not winter out there, right? It's cool.
Well, except for those that have red faces. But other than that, it's cool. Oh, yeah. Yes, it's good. 5 and 7.
All right. For the sake of time, I'm going to move on to business item 8. Discussion possible action to approve the property acquisition for extension of Wahlen Way. I would like to table this. Can I have a motion to do that, please?
I'll make a motion that we table business item I and J.
Can I do that? Okay.
I second.
Motion and a second. I need a roll call on this. We will go Councilmember Williamson.
Yes.
Councilmember Foster.
Yes.
Councilmember Jackson.
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 9, which is public comment. This is the time for you to come to the podium with anything on your mind for 3 minutes. State your name, your concern, and the time is yours.
Kevin Barble, I live on North Harrisville Road. We've lived in this city I have for 43 years, 62 years my wife. So we've seen a lot of change, proposed change. Couple concerns, I brought it to a few council members earlier today that I did not recognize until today. And that is, everyone's encouraged to go direct bill, just take it out of your bank and pay for your water, sewer, garbage, or whatever. If we do automatic withdrawal for Bonta Vista for our bills, we do not get a letter from the city anymore explaining what meetings are going on or anything. I found out today that we can go on and sign up and get a letter from the city. The first picture that popped up was our old mayor councilman Richardson, and this be kind in this statement he made years ago. But then I went through that. However, everyone isn't savvy, and not everyone out there is going to know how to do that. So my question is, or just a thought, I don't know how many that are doing auto pay out of these voting citizens that have no idea that something was going on, and that might be considered. And with technology, I mean, a letter, just a thought, a letter could be sent out if you're going to auto pay from whomever, saying a notification that you will not be receiving letters, or the city will automatically let you know that within so many days you need to sign up and get a letter coming. Just a thought. That would help with a little bit of knowledge out there. She says that's it, so I'll step down. But I'm going to say thank you. I appreciate the roads coming so quick and getting holes fixed and the water bubbling out. I mean, it's been a good response. I appreciate your time you spend, and I do understand concerns and jokes about red faces and upset. I worked in multi-billion-dollar business in management and HR, and it's hard to get everyone on the same page and a clear understanding. And that's, I think, what everyone's asking for, just a clear understanding. At the end of it, we're a lot left. There was discussion about setting this aside, bring it back up. Let's discuss this, let's reconsider it, and I think that's all that's wanted. We need things to improve, we need better things, but maybe just a different look at it. And thank you, I do appreciate you.
Thank you.
Larry Lilly. I just wanted to say this format here is very difficult, just as Councilwoman Fawcett said, that we come give a speech and then we hear what you guys have to say, but there's no two-way communication, there's no interaction here. Because when Jenny was talking about the garbage fees and how they're running in the reds, our rates were raised 2-3 months ago. So was that an error? Or why did that rate increase now put us back in the black? You know, but no, now you're saying, well, we're still not covering the cost of these extra cans. It doesn't make sense. The accounting just not, what I'm hearing, it doesn't make sense. So I'd like to get some more clarification on that. Why? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And then, you know, it seems like this, talking to this gentleman here, you know, you want this bond and everything, and it seems like we're having to hurry to take advantage of interest rates at the current rate and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, the people are what, the voice of the people is what drives decisions. And you got to take our voice into account when you make these decisions. It doesn't matter how urgent you think it is or we need it right now. Somehow you've got to have a form or to get feedback from the people on what we want. And you know, it just seems like, because once you eliminate the people's voice, that's tyrannical. That's a tyranny right there. And that's what our forefathers warned us against. You don't eliminate the people's voice, or that's taxation representation. And you know, that caused a revolution in the 1700s. We don't want that. We want to be represented and to have our voice heard and to be able to vote on things in the proper manner. So I understand needs. I understand our city's growing and it's important. But you know, most people that come to these meetings to have a voice, in my opinion, we're not rich. The rich people don't come. We're the ones that are struggling, you know, with our finances and things like that. So all these net extras that increase our taxes, we're all concerned here about that. And that's who you're seeing here, in my opinion, and that's me. I'm concerned about it. So the ones who don't care, that money is no issue, they're not here. They don't care. So that's kind of a few things, but I'd like to see line items too. You know, as mentioned, you know, bond. And this guy made a good point. You know, build the whole building and then do phases inside this shell, because that saves you a lot of money. But then we're sitting here, we can't make comments like he did. We can't make suggestions because of the format. So.
Thank you.
Request, you know, we were provided an agenda for this evening to come to the public hearing with, and sitting through this and listening to the facts afterwards, that the agenda we were given was wrong, was completely inaccurate, and without accurate data, how can you guys expect us to have a good public hearing with you? We come here expecting a $10 million bond. This young lady over here is throwing up $5 and $6 million. I don't know where that came from. This gentleman here said there was no rec center, but it was clearly on the agenda for today. So if you guys want a public hearing and you want our opinions, you need to provide us the accurate data to talk to. You might have saved a lot of headache tonight. Police station is needed, I get that, and he needs to be in compliance. What does it take to do that? And then maybe stay in this building. And you know, I apologize for earlier when I said could I ask a question, but a simple from you would have been, there will be a comment later. From now, and I would shut up. But the gentleman just said here, we have no communication. You guys get to dictate to us what we can and cannot say, and that's it. This gentleman got up and down 4 or 5 times. Why aren't we afforded that same opportunity, especially something as important as what was discovered, that the agenda was in error? That's something I wish you guys would take into consideration as well. You know, you're not a dictatorship. Let us speak. You get to speak. Let's have a communication. Give us the right data to talk to. And, you know, we'll support you guys when we can. But, again, listen to the residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, it's me again, Jenna Frost, Mayor Tait, council members, and city employees. Just want to take another minute. So I think I heard the open house was gonna be for one night for 1 hour. I know you can't respond, but can somebody nod and tell me if that was correct? Did I hear that correctly? No, nobody can respond. Okay, if that's the case, I'm advocating that you do much more than that. It's the same that I told you before. You have to convince us. You have to show us. We will support you, I promise. We have people that will support you, but you have to make it available. You have to make it available for us. You have to make it clear. You have to make it concise. You have to have numbers. You have to tell us how you're being fiscally responsible. You have to tell us all of these things. We will work with you and not against you if you do some of these things. So I'm super excited about the open house because I'm here to learn more about it. And I really like the idea of giving options so that people can see how you're working through some of our problems. Because we have some problems, we have some things that we need to fix. And you know, that you have thought about different options and then what is the most fiscally responsible to do our needs. Earlier in Ms. Knight's thing, she said needs and wants. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. We have needs and we need to fulfill those needs. And we're here to support you with that. And I really appreciate your time spent really allowing me to do things.
Thank you.
Well, it's Beverly Folger again. I just want to know, since there was an error in our flyers, our Harrisville happenings, about the bond issue and with it being a recreation included in it, how soon are you guys going to, you council members, going to be able to get the word out to the community that that was an error? I really don't think waiting until our July newsletter come out is sufficient. I don't know how you can do that, but I would just ask that. And then I have another crazy question. How do you expect a family of 5 to live with 1 garbage can when you have 2 littles in diapers? And I am a new widow. I cannot afford the extra garbage cans. I didn't ask for my grandchildren to come live with me. The courts told me they were going to come and live with me. And now I'm going to have to pay $21. I'm not going to do it. Is there going to be a code enforcer that's going to go around and count how many black garbage bags are sitting out on our property? Because they can't go in 1 can. That's all I have to say. They know where I live, so they'll come count my garbage cans. Thanks.
I'm John Perry. A couple of thoughts that I've collected from today's meeting and questions that I've had over the years as I've looked at your agendas and minutes. I want to know if you've toured other facilities, police stations and city offices. Have you talked to the people working in those facilities to find out what works and what doesn't? And what kind of access or relationship should the police have with the rest of the city offices in a building, in a structure? Because they have different priorities than the city offices does. Also, erecting a structure with rough end generally does not save much money. I've worked in the construction business for 40, 50 years. I'm an engineer, business improvement specialist, expert, and it really doesn't. And when you come back in to finish a building 5, 10 years later, in many cases you'll find that your needs have changed, and what was roughed in doesn't work anymore. Street lights in the city are in serious disrepair. While you are having your private meeting, the city lights in the parking lot are working, great for security and for the police department, right? The ones down the street are not. The ones around my house, north of Harrisville Park, work for about 10 minutes and then they go off for 30 minutes. It gets very dark at night. And I believe the city is responsible for fixing those, except along maybe Highway 89. Not correct. Please correct me. I think what you've heard tonight is that this residents don't want or need the best or most glorious city building in the police department. We want what we need. There's a difference between bad, worse, good, better, and best. And I think if you've already gone around and toured other facilities, you will know what works and what have a better idea of what is cost effective and best for the future. I recommend we create a 10 or 20-year plan, provide it to the citizens and update it over time according to changes, and notify us for progress on the plan and individual activities on that plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just some suggestions to get some help. Michelle Singleton, I know I didn't give your name last time, I apologize. I know that we said if the circumstances stay today, June 11th, and they are the exact same, June 11th, 2029, yes, it would be more cost effective to build the building now and not add on later. But if all of us can remember the past 3 to 5 years, did we think any of those things that would have happened in the past 3 to 5 years would happen? No, we didn't know they would happen. And in the political arena we're in now, we don't expect to see the same things on the news that we see every single day. We cannot project that it will be more expensive in 3 to 5 years. We cannot also project on if it will be absolutely necessary. Those of us who've been here have struggled, Harrisville citizens trying to keep this city great, trying to support you, trying to help, do the best we can to provide what we can for our citizens. We remember going through this exact same process for this city building, and we're doing it again. Do we really have to do it again? Is this building condemned? Have we taken those steps that you've taken with these architectural sketchings? Have we really professionally looked into adding, fixing, remodeling what we have? There are abilities to be able to use square footage in a different way. It may not be as beautiful and as magazine worthy as what we might see in the new building, but it can happen. And as we can see, with just this Ben Lomond golf course, it is a volatile time right now for construction. You can bid it, but I dare you to find somebody who's going to guarantee that bid for more than 30 days. They can't. Building materials just aren't happening right now. From day to day, you can pick up something one day and you can go back a week later and it costs a different price. You guys, we aren't saying you're doing it wrong, we're just saying it can't be done right now. We can't guarantee how much you're going to spend. It just isn't going to happen. That's why our golf course is being sold and resold. These developers that do it for a profession, for their life, they are skilled out in the world, had unforeseen costs, couldn't make it work. Help us work together, do the best we can so we are not constantly living on that fine line in Harrisville that we have done for years. At the higher percentage of taxes per capita compared to the rest of the state, always walking that fine line of can we fix our bathrooms at the park? Can we fix this? The things that people see every single day. Thank you.
My My name's Mike Farrell, and I wanted to comment about the gentleman that said the lights were out. Maybe the city needs to put it in the paper and let people know that if they go to our power company, Rocky Mountain Power, I can't remember what it is, .com, there's a place in there to report it, and they come and fix it. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi, Marvin Farrell. I've been to several meetings, and what I've noticed and what Mr. Lilly brought up was that we see in these meetings that there's the public comments, and then there's the discussions with the city after where we learn probably more information. If it's possible, if we could have some of that discussion, that would give more information to the citizens, and then we could maybe possibly have some better comments with what we're doing. This is a big example of what happened here tonight and the miscommunication, which maybe possibly could have been straightened out, and then the public, the citizens know about it. The other thing that I would like to comment on is I'm just kind of wondering what happened here, because we got excused to go out, and then trying to come back in the door, we're at public comments. So what happened here with business items I and J? They got missed. So here we are. Yes, you want to comment, but here we are, we can't comment. We don't have that communication. Okay? That's the reason I came, is to hear that, is on I and J. But you didn't wait for us to come back in the door. You went ahead and you continued, if I'm correct.
I will answer that.
Thank you.
We tabled them. They'll be on another agenda.
Perfect. Thanks. Here's what we need, is that communication. Thank you.
Don't go away. I want to talk to you in public comment about Western irrigation. When's the water?
Do you want me to stand here or leave?
No.
Tell me now.
Or go outside. No,
tell me now.
What do you need?
We've got tons of people asking me about when's the water coming back.
Okay.
Councilmember Jackson.
You're out of order.
Oh, we got it.
I'm sorry. It's not on the agenda. We can't do that.
I'll wait till.
Thank you.
I don't feel bad, man. But I will. I got 35 seconds. I will stay after if those that would like to hear about Western irrigation and what's going on with that, I'll stay after and we can talk about that. Is that fair?
That's up to you if you want to go outside and do that.
Okay, thank you. I'll be outside then. I'll wait for you. Okay.
I think we're done with public comments for tonight, so I will move on. We have item number 10, Mayor Council follow-up. We are going to go with our admin first, Chief Wilson.
All right. So we got gold status award from our Lexipol policy. That's what we, with our Lexipol, it keeps up on our policies and procedures. So during the year, they rate you on how well you've kept up on policies, how well the officers have accepted the policies, and those type of things. So I think this is the third year we've got gold status on that. We have Officer Paradise that just completed his less lethal training on bean bags, taser, and aerosol spray, so he can instruct all three of those for us now. Everybody's caught up for their 40 hours of training this year for what's required by post. Looks like we're up close to 1,000 calls per service from this time last year.
Is that for the year?
From this time in June, from this date today till now is roughly 1,000 calls. We are in the process of looking for another officer. We have an officer that's his last day is Friday. The one that we swore in today was to replace Officer Clark that left in March. We had a records clerk that was here helping our records department. Her last day was end of May. Instead of refilling that, the city is looking at filling that with a victim's advocate now. So we're in the process of hiring a victim's advocate instead of the place of the records person, so we can start helping with the victims at the court and so on.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Director Schisel.
To address a couple public comments. One, the city and Rocky Mountain Power do own shares of streetlights. But what we suggest is call into the city office, get on the local order system if you guys see a street light out. We're not out at night unless it's plow season to really know what street lights are out and on. So if you do have one that's constantly giving you problems, we have contracts with, Rocky Mountain Power and their subcontractors to help us maintain those as best we possibly can. Again, we're staying really busy. It's our busy time of the year. We have a lot of development that's starting to go on through the city, and we're out inspecting that. We're also at the current stage doing some sidewalk projects. We also advise residents if you see sidewalk in your vicinity that's really breaking up and falling apart, let us know. We'll come and try to do an assessment and definitely get those issues repaired where and when we can. Same with roads. We travel the roads every day. We try to do our due diligence. Again, the citizens are great helps and benefits. If they see something, a pothole that we may have missed or something, please just call into the city, put in a quick work order, and we will address it as fast as we can. Just with that, we've been working hard on getting our new building on schedule and keep that moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Fine.
Thank you. So the splash pad came up, so I'll just address that real quick. We woke the splash pad up the week of May 20th. We put it to bed in the fall, expecting everything to be well in spring, and most oftentimes that's not the case. So this a couple weeks ago we opened it up, tried to get everything running. There's an electrical component that went out. It's a very, very extremely corrosive environment with the acid and the chlorine. It was a relay switch. I can go into detail, but it's a relay switch that wasn't actuating like it should. Waited a few weeks for the part. That was installed today. Health department is scheduled to come out and do their inspection tomorrow to allow us to open, so possibly Friday is what I would anticipate on that. The pocket park was brought up. I've had a couple of calls. Cynthia in the office has this information now. We hydro seeded the pocket park on May 29th, and we're watering to the installer's instructions. So it is extremely wet. As of yesterday, it was dialed back a little bit per their instructions. We're keeping a really close eye on it. The company that did it is coming out taking pictures and making sure we're getting the best product that we paid for. So that's why it's wet. It's not mud. It's hydro seed, and it is coming up. On a happy note, we have a community event Friday, which is a movie in the park. Monsters Inc. We'll have backyard games out around 7. We will start around 9. Popcorn, ice water. Come out and have a good time. Support us if you can. Thanks.
Thank you. Our Administrator, Jennie Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we've had a long night. I'll be brief, but it is that time of year. It's moderate income housing time. Our report is due on August 1st. I'll be working with Jack, who's going to help me this year put in place the efforts that the city has made over the course of the last 12 months in our strategies, our adopted strategies for meeting those moderate income housing needs. I've been brainstorming on some of the things that we probably need to talk about and consider doing some type of a general plan work session, and not only the staff has been working on strategic plans for each department that we'll bring to you with where we think things need to go in the next 10 to 20 years. But also with our general plan, it was adopted in 2019, so it's 5 years old. They have to be adopted every 10 years, but with these moderate income housing strategies needing to be met every 3 to 5 years, we just want to make sure that you're all aware, and then the staff is working towards those strategies that you guys are aware of. So as you know, the city is not in compliance. Last year they did the legislators adopted a fine that you pay into the Olene Walker Housing Fund. So every day the city's not in compliance, it does actually cost the city money, just as a reminder of what our requirements are there. So that's, I think everything else I had was on the agenda.
All right, council, Matt,
We had a good senior citizen luncheon today, at about 35 plus people. Had a good whittling group that came, and it was a lot of fun. In the time there, I had one of the citizens that mentioned that up on 2550 West and 600 North, where it comes in off. Yeah, 2550 North, where it comes in off the Vista Care there and into the subdivision. That's a major thoroughfare. He wondered if there's a way that possibly we could work in Pleasant and get a four-way stop there, because there have been accidents there. People aren't watching what's going on. So I just thought I'd pass that on, put that in the minutes. I know Pleasantview owns the road, and I think there needs to be some communications there that it will be for the safety of everybody.
Karen. Blair. See. Okay, and I think we're done for tonight, so I would like a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.